I actually want to start off talking about pair programming because it's something that in today's or tomorrow's section, whichever you attend, we're going to have you try. We're hoping that some of you decide that it's actually worth continuing through the semester, but we're not going to mandate that you do it. We think your life will actually be a lot more fun and a lot easier if you do. And I know that the sort of the stereotype, at least when I was in grad school, is you sort of go into a room by yourself, you hack for a long time, you drink a lot of Red Bull, although there was no Red Bull back then. And at one point, it made sense to ask, what happens if multiple smart people who are part of a team actually find a way to do programming together? And if you remember, last time when I briefly talked about Agile and extreme programming, one of the motivations for pair programming is if code reviews are a good thing, then have two people programming so you're sort of always reviewing each other's code. So the idea is to improve the quality of the software and ideally take less time to complete it. And there's a lot of companies that actually swear by it. Some companies essentially mandate that all of their devs do it. So what is pair programming besides programming in pairs? It is actually a thing. There's a protocol for doing it. We took these photos at Pivotal Labs. We are big fans of what they do and vice versa. In a typical pair programming scenario, you'll have the two developers sitting side by side. One of them is at the keyboard. That's the driver. And the other one is the observer. And these are actually workstations that are set up only with the stuff that they need to be doing to write their code. So there's no email reader open. You can see the only browsers that are open are viewing things like documentation or the project tracker. So the idea here is that at any given time, the driver is the person typing code and sort of thinking out loud as she types. So okay, we need to be able to call this function, and I think these are the right arguments. The observer is sanity checking, cross-checking everything they do. Also, the observer has kind of an eye on what the next step is and is sort of thinking a couple of steps ahead. So both people are actively thinking at the whole during the entire time. It doesn't mean that one person's driving and the other person's like checking their phone or something like that. Both persons are engaged all the time, and people who do this and spend most of their day coding in this pair programming setup will tell you that it is mentally exhausting because everybody is on all the time. Every 10 minutes maybe, you switch roles. So if you're the observer, now you become the driver. Driver becomes the observer. And in fact, we can take some extensions of that. So do change roles frequently. You're going to try this in section today and tomorrow. Whichever role you're doing, you're exercising different skills. If you're not the person typing, you're the person who's sort of cross-checking and sort of looking critically at the code. If you are the person typing, you're also supposed to be kind of thinking out loud, describing to the observer what it is your thought process and why you're typing what you're typing. And as I'm sure many of you know, especially if you've had the chance to be a UGSI or a lab assistant, explaining things is one way to get better at learning those things. So even if you're pairing with someone who have a very different experience level from you, you will both get something out of it every time you switch roles. Don't judge your peers. Some people are stronger in some areas than others. This is a chance to teach them, and it's also a way to teach yourself. So we're going to recognize your efforts in this class. We'll survey your peers and ask, if someone was a really great pairing partner, that's the kind of thing that we actually think is valuable in terms of even your course grade. And it is certainly valued in industry. The ability to work in a pair like that where you're not only contributing to the project, but you're helping your peers become better in the project. And needless to say, whichever role you're doing, you should be 100% focused on that role. So if you do this for like an hour and you feel like you've been coding for 3 hours because it's so sort of mentally draining to be that focused, then you're probably doing it right. And yeah, the first time you ever do this, you might feel a little bit awkward. You'll get used to it really fast. In fact, we'll talk about promiscuous pairing, which is a way to sort of swap partners as often as possible. And you get better at having those skills so you don't sort of fall into a routine with the same partner every time. Empirically, when the task complexity is low, so the code you're writing is not that hard, pair programming is usually quicker, and you get higher quality code because you've always kind of got two sets of eyes. Higher quality doesn't just mean that it's less likely to have silly bugs. It also means that it is more readable because you've got another person right there who's kind of cross-checking you saying, wait a minute, why did you write it that way when it might have been less confusing maybe if you expressed it this other way? Now, it's more effort than solo programming because technically you've got two people doing the job that one person would otherwise have done. But notwithstanding, this has sort of proven its weight in industry as a way that, on the whole, it leads to better quality code, usually produced quicker, and spreads knowledge between the pair and throughout the team. not just knowledge of programming, but for example, if one of the pair knows like a trick for using a certain keystroke in the editor or things like that, right? So all the kinds of things that when you casually work together with your student peers, you find that you sort of pick up stuff from them. This is a way to sort of formalize that. I mentioned that some companies are so serious about this that they promote something called promiscuous pairing, which is you basically partner with everybody. So for example, if you're in a team of 6, there's 6 choose 2 ways that you can pair up. And if the team is sort of all programmed together, you'll actually swap not only roles with your partner, but you'll also swap partners. And that's a way of disseminating information throughout the whole team. Should you try pair programming for CS169? Don't ask me. Ask the students who took CS169 last year, which was the last time that I taught it. Periodically, you're going to see a slide like this that has a top 10 medal. At the end of every semester, we ask the CS169 students, tell us about the top things that either you would recommend to your classmates that they should do, or that you would do differently, knowing what you know now and if you were taking the class again. Number 6 on the list was do pair programming. It helps avoid silly mistakes, so it tends to save some time. And yes, changing partners frequently made the team more cohesive because everybody on the team sort of had a sense of how the other people on the team were thinking and what made their gears click. Okay? So you're going to try this hopefully today or tomorrow, whichever section you go to. We hope that you will like it enough that you'll adopt it, and we are cool with having you pair program basically on all the homeworks. As long as everybody turns in their own work and it's clear who you were pairing with, or if you were pairing with multiple people, sort of who your study group was, we're in favor, okay?